Welcome back to another episode of Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we are rising in faith and thriving in purpose. I'm your host, Dr. J. Nicole, and today we're talking about something that explains so much about why dating feels the way that it does for so many people. So if you've ever said, why do I always like people who don't choose me? Or why do I panic when someone pulls away? And finally, why do I feel bored with healthy people but obsessed with unavailable ones? This episode is for you. Today we're talking about attachment. Not as labels, not as boxes, not as excuses for bad behaviors, but for insight. Because once you understand attachment, you stop personalizing behavior that was never about you, and you stop confusing chemistry with compatibility. So, attachment helps answer the question, why do I react the way that I do in relationships? And the best part is that attachment is learned, and what's learned can be healed. Okay. So, let's break this down simply. Attachment refers to how we learn to connect with people emotionally, especially when it comes to closeness, safety, and trust. And this starts early in life, right? Through our caregivers, our family dynamics, whether there's consistency or lack of consistency, as well as emotional availability or absence. And those early lessons quietly follow us into adulthood, and they especially show up in dating. Okay. So there are four main attachment styles. You don't have to memorize them. Just notice what resonates as I go through describing them. Okay. Remember, this is not for labeling, this is for insight. So, secure attachment. Securely attached people are generally comfortable with closeness and independence. They communicate directly, they don't play games, they assume they are worthy of love, they don't panic when someone needs space, and they don't disappear when things get real. So, secure does not mean perfect. It means that they're more regulated, they're more in touch with their feelings because they are secure in their attachment. So then we have anxious attachment. Anxious attachment is driven by a fear of loss. So this could sound like, what if they stop liking me? Why haven't they text me back? That's one that gets people caught up all the time. Did I say too much? Did I do too much? Those types of questions are likely linked with a more anxious attachment style. And you might see individuals with anxious attachment style, they often engage in overthinking their communications with others. They're seeking reassurance. They stay longer than they should. And sometimes they can confuse anxiety with attraction. Okay, now avoidant attachment. Avoidant attachment is driven by a fear of dependence. Avoidant, people with avoidant attachment styles, they often value their independence above all else. They might feel overwhelmed by the emotional needs of others. You could see them pull away when closeness starts to increase. Um, they are prone to minimizing their feelings. And you might hear them say things like, I just don't want anything serious right now. Now, granted, that's something that could be said at any point, but a person that's avoidant in their attachment, you'll see that more common. They really want connection, but they struggle with vulnerability. Okay. And then finally, we have disorganized attachment. Disorganized attachment is a mix of the anxious and avoidant attachment style patterns. Okay. So this could show up as wanting closeness, but then pushing it away as soon as it gets too close. Sometimes you could say they want closeness on their terms, but they don't want sometimes the responsibility. And this is why it can look like intense beginnings and then confusing endings because you don't know what happened, how you got there, right? There's the push pull dynamic that happens. And just think of this as somebody who they want to like really know you. They're very interested and intrigued by you in the beginning, but then once it starts to feel real, they back up. So they're like, "Ooh, come close, come close. Ooh, that's too close." So they're gonna push you away just as things are getting good, and it can be confusing to you. But also with this attachment style, they fear um, real or perceived abandonment and rejection. So that's why you see them kind of pull away. And unfortunately, with this attachment style, chaos can kind of feel familiar, right? Because remember, attachment is about the consistency or the lack thereof within it, as well as the emotional availability versus emotional absence. So then you have a person who, is going to exhibit and flow back and forth between the anxious and then avoidant. Okay. It doesn't mean that because if you have anything other than secure attachment, that it's a problem. It's not. If that's just what you've been exposed to, and there's an opportunity for you to make more conscious choices and decisions that lead to you having healthier love. And a couple more things about disorganized attachment. Um, Really and truly, with this attachment style is one of the most complicated, obviously, because it's between two attachment styles. And so just know that you're not flawed. There's nothing wrong with you, as much as that you need to understand that this is a strategy that your nervous system has learned in order to survive and keep you safe, especially in intimate relationships, right? And survival strategies, they make sense until they start to cost you healthy love. So now let's talk about how attachment shows up in modern dating, because let's be honest, dating today, it sometimes can add fuel to a or more insult to injury to an attachment wound, right? So anxious attachment in dating, this might look like the person is checking their phone repeatedly, reading into punctuation, because remember, this is the overthinking that's taking place here. Feeling uneasy when the communication slows down, staying in relationships because something feels better than nothing. That's tough, right? And the anxious nervous system is basically saying, if I lose connection, I lose safety. So if you feel that way, this is an indicator that you are currently operating with more of an attachment style that's anxious. So it looks like, so they cling, right? And this is how they end up staying longer than what is healthy. So avoid an attachment style in dating. This looks like the hot and cold behavior. They'll be emotionally present, and then they're distant, right? Then they're pulling away after intimacy has occurred. And they may feel overwhelmed when expectations arise, right? Because remember, they don't really want that emotional load. They don't want it heavy. They want the freedom to be able to, you know, pop out when it's uncomfortable for them. And so if you want to think about the nervous system of the person with avoidant attachment, their system is saying, if I get too close, I lose myself. Okay. So as a result of that, you're going to see them withdraw. And here's where things can get complicated. Anxious and avoidant attachment often attract each other. I'm going to break down why. Because anxiety chases, right? And avoidance retreats. So the cycle feels familiar. So easily you have the pursuer retreater pattern. The avoidant is going to move away and the anxious is going to follow or chase. So this is where I want to offer a reframe that's very important. Please understand that chemistry often feels familiar. Okay? It feels familiar, and safety often feels calm. And calm can feel boring when chaos is what you've known, right? That spark, that excitement. Sometimes people are turned off when things seem too easy, when really it's healthy. And it's not judgment. And we know that change starts with awareness. So if you're tired of the same outcomes that you've had, it might be time to do something new. And it's not uncommon for many people to mistake anxiety for passion because you feel it in your stomach. Your body sometimes is telling you, this isn't it, this is unsafe, but it feels like excitement. And for some people, the unknown is exciting to them. The unpredictability you're mistaking that for excitement. And the emotional highs and lows, those are mistaken for depth. And real connection does not keep you on edge. Healthy love doesn't activate your nervous system, it soothes it. Okay. So healing attachment does not mean that you'll never feel triggered again. Cause I mean, we're human, right? Like, and we experience a lot of things. But it means that you'll respond differently when you are triggered. So healing attachment looks like pausing instead of chasing. So you might notice, okay, there's been a change in the frequency or the pattern of communication. Just wait. Just wait. Like give it space. Sometimes people need room. And when you are in the early stages of dating, a person does not owe you anything. And I think a lot of times people get wrapped up in the newness, the excitement, right? Which we can contribute to the dopamine, the oxytocin, all of these feel good chemicals that are released in the body when we are meeting someone new. And so you want more of it. And then sometimes people aren't thinking, they're just feeling that going off the vibe, it feels good. The next thing they know, they might say, oh man, I've talked to them every day for X number of weeks or whatever, or months, or I've been seeing them regularly. I've been going on dates with them at least 2 times a month. Oh my gosh, what is this? So like people will start to think. And so that can lead to folks, kind of pulling away, not recognizing their patterns. But um and that fear can definitely kick in. So we want to make sure that we start to normalize a healthy relationship, right? Like that is not boring. And this will look like noticing your urge before acting on it. If you feel the need to withdraw or you feel the need to chase, right? Depending upon your attachment style. And it's so very important to communicate your needs instead of hints. It's very important to say what you mean and start doing so in the beginning and letting people know. And you can do that without it being rejection. There's ways to say what you don't like and what you prefer. And if y'all are interested, we can do um some episodes on like healthy communication and like communicating boundaries and things like that as well. Um it also means choosing consistency over intensity. Because that intensity, y'all, it feels good. This is why a lot of people are subject to love bombing because it has a certain intensity. You get the spikes, the dopamine, like those good chemicals that I've been talking about, right? Like that is what gives that good feeling. And so people get caught with that, but intensity is not enough alone. And so healing like or healthy attachment and relationship and dating, this means letting unfamiliar peace become your new normal. And this is why it feels like a threat because it's unfamiliar if you are used to chaos or if you're used to having to chase, if you're used to pulling away. It does feel strange at first because, those emotional roller coasters, if those are the norm, you're familiar with that. You know how to navigate that. And so you're learning to navigate quiet. And so this can make people feel like stability is weird. But quiet's not boring. Quiet is actually safe, y'all. And faith also reminds us that love is patient, love is kind. It's not confusing. It does not, induce anxiety. Godly love does not require self abandonment. Okay. So, as we head into February, the month of love, I want to invite you again to deeper conversations. I want you to send in your letters, send in your questions, the patterns that you've experienced, patterns you exhibit, confusion, hope, all of these things that you have. And so, throughout the month of February, I'll be reading and responding to listener letters each episode that are about dating, relationships, boundaries. We're talking attachment and healing as well. We're not romanticizing dysfunction this year, y'all, okay? And we're not going to be excusing inconsistency, and we're not calling chaos chemistry. We're choosing healing, we're choosing healthy. So those submission details, you can find them in the description down below, but they could also be sent to info@evolvewithdrjnicole.com. I really do want to hear from you. And as we enter into the month of love, I want you to remember that you are worthy of love that is safe, mutual, and consistent. Not a love that you have to chase, not a love that you have to interpret, but a love that keeps you calm and not anxious. Just love that meets you in peace and brings you peace. So I'll see you next week. Month of love is going to be full of things. We're going to have some different folks coming on talking about um, intimacy, talking about strategy and being your best you in relationships. We're going to go deeper into those red flags and green flags and get some feedback from a different perspective. And we're also going to feature love stories this month as well. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out the merch, www.evolvewithdrjnicole.com. Go to the podcast page, click shop the merch, and everything is there for you. If there are some items that you would love to see available in merch, let me know. Leave a comment. If this episode has benefited you and helped you understand yourself more in terms of attachment and how you show up, please make sure you leave some feedback. Share it with someone else who you think this would benefit. Share it with a partner. Share it with someone you're dating, right? And if you have more questions about attachment and relationships, leave them down below. I'm happy to provide more insight. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'm looking forward to this month of love with everyone. See you next week.